Hi, and welcome to week 11 support video. I just wanted to go over some of the expectations. I know that with last night's Zoom meeting, we were jumping in and out of groups, and we also had our guest speaker and everything. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on what the expectations were, and also to just review some of the supports that I gave you last night. So we had Martha speak last night, and then we did a quick check-in about the cultural reciprocity from Maya's book, which I don't see right here, but yeah, so we went through, oh, here it is. So we talked about the goal setting and how the parents and the school sometimes have different perspectives of that, and that we need to keep that in mind. Then we looked at the IEP process. So we have the mock family-informed student-led IEP groups. I'm going to take my video off. And I gave you so here's the groups, and then I gave you the questions that I'm going to be looking at for your grade. So how will you initiate contact with stakeholders beyond just the meeting notice? You know, what will you do before the meeting to ensure that the meeting's still an hour, but has everybody, all the stakeholders' information integrated. So some of the things we talked about this semester were, you know, doing parent interviews ahead of time, or maybe having them fill out a sheet, or talking to them about their section of the meeting, that type of thing. Talking to teachers so that they're prepared with their information about the student and the progress with work examples. Making sure that everybody's informed about, you know, the different ideas that are coming up so that everybody can kind of share their perspectives. Yes, it is absolutely okay to have pre-meetings, but you may not make any decisions before the IEP meeting. It needs to be a group decision. But to find out and plan ahead is really important, and that's what makes it so that you can actually have a 1-hour IEP meeting and still get everybody's information, and make sure that there's no stakeholders that become silent during the meeting or uninvolved or unengaged. So one of the things that is helpful is if you establish group norms. So you can say like, oh, you know, remember at the parent meeting we came up with these different norms for having the meeting, and I just wanted to go over those again. Or maybe you have the student go over it, whatever it is. And then you also assign roles to everybody. You say, this is our meeting agenda, and these are the roles. So maybe you have a timekeeper, you have somebody who's going to be recording notes, somebody who's going to be leading the meeting, facilitating the meeting. And so if everybody has roles and is willing to, you know, stick to those roles, then oftentimes it's not, you know, the special ed teacher going in and saying, come on guys, we need to get back on track, but rather it's the special educator or the case manager saying, or maybe the timekeeper, the general ed teacher or the administrator, or even the student decides to be the timekeeper, says like, oh, you know, we only have 2 more minutes left for, you know, the goals section or something. And you can make, you know, decide to extend the time, but if you have somebody that's really keeping track of that, that can take the pressure off of you as a facilitator. Then the meeting agenda. And to help you out with the agenda, I put this list of what an IEP must contain. So present levels, annual goals, student progress, related services, supplemental aids, modifications, or accommodations. And then also the transition, which if you have used the transition project, then that follows along with the transition goals and expectations for an ITP and an SOP, a summary of performance, and an individualized transition plan. So if you have the student leading that section, then you've actually fulfilled that part of the IEP meeting. And you've gotten the student involved, or having the student lead that part. The family involved, you can have the interviews, or maybe you have them fill out a questionnaire beforehand, or talk to them about what part they want to present, and, you know, checking in and asking questions. All of those things would count. The disability. Now, this is something that we've talked a lot about, that we don't always feel comfortable, you know, saying, hey, you have this disability, this is a label. But we do need to make sure that students know what their disability label is and what services and supports work for them and that they have access to. So that means that during these IEP meetings, even though it's uncomfortable, we have to have a real honest conversation about what it is that we're doing. And so this is the time that we're going to be talking about that. So make sure that your group is ready for that. And then how will you ensure non-biased and meaningful assessments and progress monitoring? And one of the things about being non-biased is the idea that you have looked at this from more than one angle. You are not just taking one test and saying this is the student, but instead you're pulling from observations, interviews, formal and informal testing. You're looking at how these different tests compare. So, how well did they do on the Woodcock-Johnson, and then how well are they doing in math class? In informal assessments or something, so that you're really looking at this from a holistic approach. And so those are the types of things that you're going to be doing to demonstrate cultural reciprocity. Also meaningful, a holistic approach to assessment and progress monitoring, that it's not just one person with one test that is determining whether the student's doing well. And then how will you ensure collaboration with stakeholders? This is where you're going to demonstrate at the end of your meeting agenda that you have that everybody's going to be participating. The whole IEP team will be participating in the success of the student. So what is the student responsible after the meeting? Maybe it's to carry around a performance sheet or something. What is a general educator going to do as far as, possibly assessment and progress monitoring or interventions or strategies in class? What is the family going to do as far as checking in and making sure that things are going well? What are you going to do as a case manager? So give everybody some sort of job so that you're demonstrating that you are collaborating with all stakeholders in supporting the student. So that's that's the things that I'm going to be looking for next week. And let me just see. Oh, and then also, how will you continue to promote transition support? So for self-advocacy, goal planning, ITPs, STPs at all ages. So even if your student is a kindergarten student, there are still transition supports that are needed. And we can use some of the materials that we've had in our resource things, or maybe you want to make up one, whatever, that's fine, just as long as you've got some sort of idea about how you're going to be supporting that child as they move through their educational and personal lives. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Let me just see if there's anything else. And then we also worked on the family resource. I gave you some time at the end of class to check in. So please read Chapter 7 of the Kelly Amper and Harry book. You're going to be doing critical reflection number 7. You're going to prep for the family involved student-led IEP. You're going to continue to work on the family school resource folder. And please submit any late work, because now we're after the 10th week, so it just keeps going down 10% each week until you turn it in. So please get that in as soon as possible. If you'd like to come and meet me in my office, I will work with you one-on-one, and we can just get your assignments in and make sure that you're comfortable and understand. So I am willing to give you my time and space and support because I really do want you to do well. So once again, 2 takeaways and a bit of feedback for Martha. I'm looking for, what do we know about each perspective of a multidisciplinary team when it comes to goal setting, progress monitoring, and collaboration. And then here's the questions, and I wanted your group to kind of go over how you're going to be doing these so that you're prepared for next week and y'all get a perfect score. And then finally, what will you do in the next week individually to support your development of your family school resource materials folder? How is the group project unfolding? Is there anything I can do to support your group in developing their resources? So if you're confused at all, then you can write it here. And or if maybe there's an individual who might need some more support to be a better group member, then let me know that, and I will do my best to make sure that you're feeling like everyone is participating equally. So anyway, please let me know if you need anything, and have a great week.